Hey everybody, Mr. Regan here. Hope everyone's doing well. Today we're going to be focusing on the final part of your write-up, the conclusion. And up to now, hopefully you have your first 4 paragraphs written and ready to go. Your introduction, your body paragraph 1, 2, and obviously 3. Today we're going to look at what your conclusion is going to be about in your entire conversation about the GMO debate. It's probably going to be a little different than what you've normally done when it comes to writing a conclusion in the past. And hopefully it's going to give everybody kind of a nice, neat bow on top of this GMO debate to kind of wrap things up. Big things you got to focus on today is when you're creating your conclusion, we're looking to identify the importance of the GMO debate and your kind of important takeaways. What are your big messages behind this? And the goal of this conclusion is, like I said, to kind of end the debate and to end what you've written about in your entire write-up. So you've obviously presented your write-up in your presentation and you've gone through evaluating both sides, and you've hopefully been able to show people like, hey, this is the debate. This is the side that I feel is best supported by evidence. And now we're going to kind of put a conclusion to it. So if you're watching this video, obviously you've clicked on the link. Obviously you're looking at our write-up directions today. If you haven't prepped yourself by pulling up your GMO document, please do that. You can pause the video. If you want to click on the resource, obviously I'm going to go through that. If you just want to watch me go through that, that works too. We have 3 questions that we're going to be looking to answer in our conclusion. And we're hopefully going to use anything we've learned from our previous lessons. So 9, 11, anything else to kind of put this final period on this write-up. Obviously, those are your 3 questions. Let's go ahead and dive into my example. So hopefully we're taking stock in what our paper looks like by stepping back and saying, okay, what have I done? All right. And up to now, you've written an introduction that says, hey, here's the debate. Okay. You've written your first body paragraph that says, hey, this is the best claim and evidence, and this is why the evidence is the best. Okay. So here's the debate. Here's the best side of the debate with the best evidence, and here's why. The next thing you've looked at is what people might say to kind of combat or argue against your evidence. You're showing people like, hey, here's what people might think. Here's what people might say. And you've hopefully explained why those arguments aren't strong, or they're weak, or they don't make sense, and that sort of thing. So again, you're giving your reader the full picture of the debate. Here's the debate. Here's the claim that's the best with all of its evidence. Here's what people might say to argue against it and why that isn't really strong or doesn't make sense. You then went into your last body paragraph, paragraph 3, and you said, okay, well, here's the other side of this debate, and here's why this other side, with all this evidence that I'm showing you, doesn't make sense. Here's why you should think that this evidence isn't strong, or here's what I would say to kind of argue against it. Again, presenting both sides. Whenever you are presented with a debate, or whenever you're presented with a topic that has multiple sides, if you can present not only your side, but the side of others and talk about the strengths and weaknesses, not only are you giving your reader your full analysis of that topic, but you're allowing them to see the full topic. Okay, a lot of times whenever we write from a place of an opinion, like, hey, here's what I think. And when you only present one side of a debate or a topic, you're essentially being biased. You're saying, hey, this is what I think. Don't worry about the other side. That's not important. Here's what I think. And when you can present both sides, you are less biased and you're able to allow people to think about both sides and make decisions and opinions for themselves. Okay. So this brings us to the conclusion. This is your wrap up to everything. If you've allowed people to look at, here's the debate, here's the best evidence, here's what people would say against that evidence, here's the other side and why it's not strong. This part is all about, like I said, kind of putting that bow on top of that entire debate. So let's look at the 3 questions that you're going to be answering. Summary. Yes, you are going to write a sentence or 2 summary, but that's not really a full summary of everything you wrote. It's simply a summary of what was the final claim you think readers should conclude has the strongest evidence and support. Okay, notice I'm not asking you to write the evidence. I'm not asking you to recap the support. This should not be anything more than a couple sentences at most. In fact, even mine is 1 sentence. The Green Bay Packers are a better football team than the Chicago Bears. It's that easy, okay? Re-summarizing everything you wrote, in my opinion, is a silly thing to do because you've already written about everything. You've already had your readers look at everything. You don't need to say it twice, okay? If they want to see it again, they can go reread it in your previous paragraphs. Next, you're going to write and create a final message that you think that is the big takeaway from this debate. Understand, ladies and gentlemen, a takeaway isn't the final claim. It's a message that you're giving people that helps put the conversation in perspective. It helps people see the bigger meaning behind it. It helps people to understand what's important in this moment, what people should be focusing on. Think of it almost like a thesis in some way. So here's mine, okay, for our Packers-Bear debate. Both teams have had great seasons, great players, and inspired many fans to watch them time and time again in the hopes of seeing their hometown team win. Notice, big message here. We both have great fans, great teams, that sort of thing. It's helped putting things in perspective. Now, this topic is a little more playful in a sense. It's a conversation over football teams. And at the end of the day, it's a sport and it's fun to watch and that sort of thing. And I know the GMO debate is a little bit more heated because it's our food and it has health risks and other things that people have been pointing out. And it also has great advantages and things like that. And there's a little more, weight behind this topic. But nonetheless, this is kind of the big message. This idea that we have great fans and all these other things, this helps to inspire community, a sense of identity, and a pride for someone's hometown team, all of which is important no matter what team you root for, what team wins a game, and what team is better than the other. So, again, big message, that sort of thing. The last thing we're going to look at is, what are your personal feelings about this GMO debate and how does it fit into the debate? Okay. This is where you get to step in and say, okay, here's my personal opinion. This is where you can put your emotions. You can say, here's what I think. And this is where you can look to either disagree with your original claim, or you can look to add your own personal thoughts to it. Okay. A lot of people in your previous paragraphs wrote, my opinion is, and don't take this the wrong way, but when presenting a debate, if you ever say, this is my opinion, you've already created bias in your reader. Your reader's going to look at it and say, well, it's your opinion. Opinions can be wrong. The goal of this is to present the facts and the facts that support them and which one you feel is the strongest, okay? This is where you can actually go in this last question and put your personal feelings in and say, here's my true opinion. I disagree with this set of evidence and claim, even though it's strong, I feel like this may be why it's more important. This may be why it's less important, that sort of thing. Okay. So there really is no wrong answer to this, but number one, this is where you get to show the reader your side of things. Okay. So overall, I feel it's very difficult to argue that the Packers are a better team when presented with all of the facts, okay? I do. I think it's very hard. This topic tends to cause people to get defensive and feel competitive when told their hometown team is not as good as their rival. I get that. It stirs emotion, okay? It's us against them. It's my team versus you. Totally get it. But when people can take a step back, evaluate the facts in a clear way, and take themselves out of the debate, take their personal feelings out of the way, they can clearly see all signs point to the Packers being the better team. There's nothing wrong with being a fan of a team that has less wins or Super Bowl wins. But just like at the end of a football game, there has to be a final decision made. Sometimes that decision comes down to the points on a scoreboard. This team has 10 points, this team has 100 points. And sometimes that decision comes down to facts on a page. And there it is. That's my final kind of skeleton of those questions and kind of what I'd write. Obviously, I'd put this together. This part hopefully doesn't require a ton of transition sentences or you guys spending a lot of time tweaking stuff. I did add a little bit of a transition sentence into the paragraph, kind of a lead-in, if you will. When presented with evidence and arguments for both sides of the debate, it's clear that, and then boom, there it is. The Green Bay Packers are a better football team than the Chicago Bears. There's that first summary answer. Okay. And then notice I just copied and pasted these two sentences. Set of answers, because they really not only blend together very well and have this kind of common theme, but also they're very much linked in terms of what this idea is all about versus what this idea is all about. And they kind of transition from one to the other very nicely. So really, I can just put it all together and boom, I have my final paragraph. Okay. So remember, if you've gotten to this point, if there's anything I've said that you need to go back and watch again, go for it. If there's anything where you're like, okay, I need to make sure I understand this point a little more, go for it. Remember, I know this is hard, ladies and gentlemen. I've presented you with a football example, and yet we're talking about GMOs. I'm looking to see, can you write a good write-up that introduces and presents the full debate? I'm looking at, can you be a good writer more than do I know everything there is to know about GMOs? Okay. So remember, reach out if you have questions. If you want to schedule an individual Zoom meeting, let's do it. Shoot me a message with questions or thoughts on our Google Hangouts. And if at the end of the day, you're feeling confident, that's awesome. We're hopefully going to take a few steps these next couple of days to do any sort of revisions or double checks of our write-up. Okay. If that's really all I got, I hope you guys have a great day.